5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We are live. Coming to you live. It's been live. Say what's up to the people, Dad.
Hey, welcome to our brilliant and savvy audience who actually believes in science.
Oh, that's good.
Imagine that.
Whoa.
Who actually believes in truth.
Right.
Who actually believes in evidence.
Right.
And that's going to be right at the forefront of our discussion this evening.
No doubt. Should we get right into it, Dad?
Absolutely. No delay.
I want to say hello to some people in the chat. Joanne Roberts, Patrick Murray, Tony Osmond, Axel Moreno, Kevin Belmont Luna, Patrick, I already said Patrick Murray. Those are some people I just saw in chat. Thank you. Alex Kawa.
Nice. Those are good followers.
Okay, so the war on Tylenol has begun. Never thought I'd say that. Trump and his administration are claiming that acetaminophen, aka Tylenol, used during pregnancy causes autism, despite decades of research showing the painkiller is safe. Global health agencies are already telling people, ignore Trump's claims. They say there's no evidence to back it up.
What? You don't believe Donald Trump when he gives you medical advice?
What a joke.
Dr. Trump?
Yeah, right.
A well-known expert in disease and disease prevention?
Yeah, right.
I mean, come on. This is the guy who very wisely and very smartly told us how to avoid COVID-19 during the pandemic.
Oh, yeah,
right?
just drink bleach.
Swallow bleach. What could be easier? Or swallow a light bulb and have it shine inside of you.
That would
He's
hurt.
the same guy who tried to monger ivermectin, a totally useless cure for COVID-19. You know, he told us, hey, you know, it's just going to, it's like the flu, right?
Right.
No worse. It's just going to disappear in a little while.
What an idiot.
So you wouldn't take medical advice from this guy? Come on. After all, this is the guy who assured us outside of medicine that Barack Obama was really born in Africa, not in Hawaii.
Right.
That he really won in a landslide.
Right.
An election that he lost fair and square, that everybody wanted.
Our dog is scratching
Roe
at the door.
versus Wade overturned.
Right.
That he was going to solve the war in Ukraine in just a single day.
Right.
And even though he didn't do that, he actually solved 7 other wars and should get a Nobel Prize for each one of them. Are you seriously thinking you are not going to take your medical advice from Donald Trump? Are you seriously thinking you should ditch the emails and phone numbers of all your doctors? Forget about them and just rely on what Dr. Donald Trump is telling you. What?
Give me a break, dude.
As you said, every serious scientific group in the country, and you'll see even abroad, I mean, even people abroad have felt we've got to respond to this. This is not a joke, right, Sam?
Right.
This is serious because it affects people's health and lives.
Correct.
And sadly, because he has a huge following who believes everything he says, because he is president of the United States, some people, maybe tens of millions, are going to take seriously the dangerous nonsense that he is spewing. Let's look at some of the reactions to Donald Trump's medical claims. Did you ever hear of the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, Sam?
No.
But you can imagine they're a pretty serious group.
They sound smart.
They are the group of people who specialize in pregnancy and childbirth.
Right.
They may know a little bit more about it than Donald Trump.
No. Donald Trump knows the most about everything. He says that all the time.
Yes.
Nobody knows more about black people than him. No one knows more about pregnancy than him.
No one knows more about the military than him.
Nobody.
I mean, after all, he, was able to get out of the military with bone spurs. Who else could do that?
Right. Good point.
So, yeah, he does know more about this. And here's what this group says. The American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, in responding to Trump linking Tylenol, or acetaminophen, as you said, in pregnancy to autism, they called it, quote, highly concerning, quote, irresponsible, and, quote, not backed by the full body of scientific evidence, unquote. The report says the group emphasized that more than 20 years of research, as opposed to Donald Trump's feelings, what he feels, show no link between acetaminophen use during pregnancy, autism, attention deficit or hyperactivity disorder, or intellectual disability, specifically pointing to 2 highly qualified studies. Now, Dr. Trump also tells you there's no downside on this. You can just stop using Tylenol and it's irrelevant.
Oh, nice. Cool.
Is that true?
No, of course not.
Here's, again, the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, who may have a little better qualifications than Donald Trump. Acetaminophen is one of the few options available to pregnant patients to treat pain and fever, which can be harmful to pregnant people when left untreated, unquote, says Dr. Stephen J. Fleischman, the president, Sam, of the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists.
And doesn't a fever potentially affect the fetus itself, too?
Absolutely. He goes on to say so.
So you're saying that there is risk, but Trump was full of shit when he was saying there's no risk in not taking it. There's tons of risk in not taking it. The exact opposite of what he was saying.
As always. So, yes, here's what the president of the college goes on to say. Quote, the conditions people use acetaminophen to treat during pregnancies, the conditions that treat it, right? Not the drug. These conditions are far, far more dangerous than any theoretical risks of acetaminophen and could create severe morbidity and mortality. Do you know what morbidity and mortality are?
Bad stuff.
Illness and death can create severe morbidity and mortality for the pregnant person and for the fetus. So you're right.
I know more than Trump.
Both to the mother and the fetus.
I know more than Trump. But Dad, Trump was citing these really, scientifical things. He was citing, in terms of autism, he was citing Cuba. He was citing and the Amish community.
Yeah.
That was his reasons to believe that autism is on the rise in the U.S. because Cuba doesn't have many cases and the Amish don't have many cases.
It was interesting, too. He didn't exactly cite a serious scientific study about Cuba, did he? He said there's a rumor that Cuba doesn't have autism. Well, if Cuba doesn't have autism, and who knows what the rumor is or where he got it or anything else, it's just like when it says, a lot of people know,
Right.
Do you think a third world country like that is rigorous in diagnosing and reporting autism? No. And as far as the Amish are concerned, apparently there is autism.
Oh, so he was just wrong about that.
Just flatly wrong.
But also, the Amish community would be a community that would not diagnose and cite and report.
They're an insular community.
I mean,
so, what absolute nonsense. Here's another group that might know a little more about this. Can I be honest with you?
I'm not sure if you rambling quotes is that interesting.
What's that?
I'm not sure if you're just going through a list of quotes. I don't think that's very interesting.
I just want to prove the point.
I think people get it. You know what I mean? Like I don't not necessarily that we need to hear 7 quotes from different people saying how bad this thing Trump is doing. Like I think people get it.
You think they get it?
I think they enjoy more an analysis rather than just quoting people.
Well, we did give a lot of analysis, but all right, I won't quote the 4 or 5 other leading authorities who say...
Right, there's a lot of people who are saying this is messed up, shit.
And dangerous, that's the point. Right. It's not just nonsense. Some of the nonsense that Trump puts out is not dangerous because it doesn't actually affect people. It just pumps him up. If I were president, we never would have had the Ukraine war. No, much more likely, if you were president, Putin would own Ukraine and be going after the NATO countries.
Everybody's saying they like the quotes.
I thought they might.
All right, read a couple more.
I got to find them.
You guys want the quotes? You'll get the quotes.
Cold water on them.
Everybody's saying, I like
the American Academy of Pediatrics, the nation's leading group representing pediatricians. And who do pediatricians treat, Sam?
Dolphins.
So they should know a little bit more than Donald Trump. This is now in the area of vaccines. Studies have repeatedly found no credible link between life-saving childhood vaccines and autism. This research...
Autism. What's autism? What's autism?
Autism. This research, now in many countries involving thousands of individuals, has spanned multiple decades. Any effort to misrepresent sound, strong science poses a threat to the health of children. So it's not just his attack on Tylenol, his attack on childhood vaccines as well, making also this completely bogus claim that they cause autism. And the American Academy of Pediatrics says not only is it absolute poppycock, it is dangerous. And pediatricians know that children's immune systems perform better after vaccination against serious contagious diseases like polio, measles, whooping cough, and hepatitis B. Spacing out or delaying vaccines means children will not have immunity against these diseases at times when they are most at risk.
Right. We should add for context, the press conference they had on Monday was about Tylenol, but I also went into vaccines in general and all this stuff about how many vaccines you get at once and all this vaccine rabbit hole stuff.
Yes. And here's the other report. Studies have identified autism in Amish children, and not all Amish children are unvaccinated. So much for the great example of the Amish to support his points.
I'm sorry, but if you're sitting at home and you listen to that press conference and you go, you know what, I'm not going to take Tylenol and I'm not going to get vaccinated because Cuba and the Amish.
Yes.
I mean, it's almost satire. It's so ridiculous.
It is absurd on its face.
And a lot of people, I know a lot of people also, a lot of anti-vax people claim, well, the numbers in the U.S. have skyrocketed. Again, that's because awareness, documentation, diagnoses of these of things like autism have risen.
Right.
That's the reason why there's more autism cases.
And there is better evidence, although by no means conclusive, that environmental pollution, which is contrary to everything Trump is doing, he's doing nothing about protecting the environment, that environmental pollution may be much more credible as a link to autism, although, again, the studies are not conclusive. There is, at this point, no credible, decisive evidence pinpointing any single cause of autism. And again, with respect to the vaccines, the authorities said, what he's saying about Tylenol is dangerous, not just nonsense,
right,
like swallowing bleach, which people aren't going to do anyway. It's dangerous because people are going to believe it and they're going to stop using it. And the authorities say that risks disease, injury of some kind, and even death to the mother and the child. And you saw the Pediatric Society saying, whenever you cast any shade on vaccines, it gives a much higher risk of children getting one of these horrific diseases like polio, measles, whooping cough, and hepatitis B. I think I've said this before, but as an historian, I'm not a medical professional, but I'm a historian. I've studied this. There are really three things that have enormously skyrocketed life expectancy from the 30s to the 70s. Better sanitation and understanding of hygiene, antibiotics, and vaccines. You know,
Right.
Trump doesn't want to take us back to the 1950s. He wants to take us back to the 1750s, you know, before all of this medical knowledge that has been so beneficial in improving the well-being and the life of literally hundreds of millions of people, not only in the U.S., but around the world. And what's he doing around the world in terms of life-saving medicines? Canceling them for no good reason. We can spend $400 million on building a gold ballroom in the White House, right?
Right.
We can spend $400 million on tricking out this plane that Carter gave him.
Right.
We can spend tens of billions, not millions, tens of billions of dollars on beefing up this federal police force known as ICE. But we can't afford the minuscule amount of money it takes to provide life-saving medicines to people in the most dire conditions around the world. You know, the most effective program was started by some lunatic Democrat communist.
Oh, duh, of course.
Yeah, his name was
Bernie
President
Sanders.
George W. Bush.
Oh.
Yeah, started the hepatitis, the HIV medical program. Now, all that's getting scrapped to save virtually nothing. Wouldn't even barely pay for Trump's ballroom and his tricked out plane. This is really serious.
There's reporting that USAID used to provide $2 mosquito nets to certain African countries and villages, and now they're just gone.
They're gone.
And people are getting malaria. And, you know, there's obviously this argument from the right that, you know, every cent needs to be spent on America, America first. But if you have a global malaria outbreak, that's going to affect us here in America too, guys.
Exactly. You know, germs and viruses do not respect national borders, do they?
Oh.
Oh, they don't. Oh, you know, we got to stay here
Right.
in Europe or China. We can't go all the way to the United States. And we know what happens when vaccinations plummet. We saw it in Samoa, Sam, right?
Right.
Where, you know, RFK Jr. goes to Samoa, subverts the idea of vaccination. 86 deaths in this little, tiny, barely populated country. We projected that to hundreds of thousands of deaths in the United States. And, of course, we saw the measles outbreak earlier this year, right? And where did it occur? Unvaccinated children. And now apparently there are new measles outbreaks starting again. Measles was an affliction that we had solved through vaccination. And here's another wrinkle on this, Sam, that's really frightening.
Uh-oh.
That it's one thing for Dr. Trump to be pontificating, but apparently some of this nonsense is going to be officially represented in Food and Drug Administration, FDA guidelines.
Right. Apparently there's going to be warning labels on Tylenol.
Yeah, that's just unbelievable.
Can we talk about, for a second, why is this happening? Now, it seems at least probable that RFK Jr. is behind this, but why is Trump agreeing to this? I know we always say follow the money, but I haven't...
There's certainly money in it for RFK Jr.
Right, I get that, but I'm saying...
We've discussed that before.
It would be very easy for Trump to dismiss this. But not only has he not dismissed it, he's made it a huge part of his agenda now. Why? I can't quite wrap my mind around it.
I didn't understand why he said swallow bleach either.
But no, I don't think that's
much more serious.
That's a bad comparison.
Yeah.
He just said that off the top of his head.
Yeah.
He says crazy stuff all the time.
This is all prepared.
This is all prepared.
Scripted.
This is part of his MAGA Trump administration agenda. Why?
Again, maybe it's follow the money. I'm not aware.
Right.
I know RFK Jr. has, and his allies have all kinds of conflicts of interest. I don't know whether or not Trump does, or if he does, where it lies. But I'm always, and you know, I'm not going to make unfounded accusations because
No.
I admit I do not No. But Trump's MO over God knows how many decades has always been to do things that line his pockets. Now, whether this falls into that category, I can't say. I'm not an investigative reporter, but it's certainly something worth looking into. The other thing, that I can think of, and, we're just speculating here because this is so nuts, is this is another way for him to stick it to this academic community that he hates.
Yeah.
Let's just stick it to the scientists, just like he's sticking it, to the historians when it comes to his phony baloney history of the United States. Now he's sticking it to the scientists. And we've already seen that. We've already seen Trump and RFK canceling out critical vaccine research, cancer research, other vital health and scientific research. He doesn't believe in knowledge. He doesn't believe in the search for truth or evidence. And this seems to be just another way he is undermining faith in those who dedicate their lives, whether in medicine or history or any other field, devote their lives to the search for truth and for the betterment of humanity. This is another way he's sticking it to them and exerting his will over them. That's the most plausible, presuming you can't find a money trail. And I know nothing about whether there is or isn't.
Some people in chat are saying there's some money trail to Dr. Oz, who has some sort of...
definitely.
Some sort of alternative to Tylenol, but I don't know how true. I haven't seen that or looked at
I have no doubt there are money trails to RFK Jr., Dr. Oz, and his allies. I mean, I didn't investigate it myself, but there was enough reports that seem credible to that effect. I've not seen a report establishing a money trail to Donald Trump.
Some people are saying...
I can't claim that.
Some people are saying it's a distraction. I don't know. Maybe we'll find out more as it goes along.
It's one hell of a distraction.
I know, seriously.
If it's a distraction. Maybe, so much of what he's doing does seem to be a distraction from the Epstein files, the nightmare on Elm Street that he can't wake up from. But it's more than that.
It's got to be.
It can't be just that. I really think, my explanation is a reasonable one. This is part of his concerted war on truth and his belief that I can just assert anything I want to assert, and it overrides any kind of scientific, academic research.
Yeah.
I am the ultimate authority.
Yeah, could be.
Could be.
All right, you ready to move on to our next topic?
Yeah, just let me once again stress, as strongly as I can, and you don't have to believe me. We've quoted now plenty of the leading experts in the field who spend, these organizations represent doctors and scientists who spend their lives studying this. All of these organizations agree that what Trump is doing is not just wrong, but fundamentally dangerous to mothers and kids. And here's the irony, Sam. I don't think anyone has talked about this. What is the big issue when it comes to pregnancy for Trump and the right wing?
Abortion?
Abortion. They are so concerned about abortion. They are, apoplectic. We have to protect the unborn. And yet here they are, turning right around and adopting a policy that puts in grave jeopardy not fetuses, but children who are going to be born and their mothers. What could be more hypocritical and contradictory?
That's a good point.
And I don't think anyone has emphasized that enough. And by the way, final point. What Trump's nonsense on Tylenol and vaccines has had international repercussions. Global health agencies.
I said that already.
Have dismissed it.
I said
the World Health Organization, the leading organizations in the UK, even the leading organizations in Spain have condemned what Donald Trump is doing and try to keep it from harming moms and kids in their countries.
Natalie Edelstein says, Trump's acting like autism is the plague. That's something that also I don't get. And everybody's like, oh, why do you care about why Trump is doing things? Because that's important to know. And it's important to know when you're combating the things he does, what's the root cause of him doing them. I also don't care wrap my mind about why they're so hyper-focused on autism.
That's because
I don't get that.
It comes from RFK Jr.
Well, no, I know. But why couldn't Trump just dismiss it? I mean...
Because it gives him another way of pounding on and discrediting the scientific establishment in America.
Okay.
Remember, what every dictatorial regime in history has done is squash the truth in favor of their political orthodoxy.
Right. All right. You ready for the next topic? Ready
Yes.
for the next topic?
Yes.
First, I want to say happy Rosh Hashanah to everybody out there.
Yes. A new year.
Yes. That's it? So you got to say about it?
Yes.
Okay.
And we are shortly getting to the highest of holy days in the Jewish tradition.
Yom Kippur.
Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, when we atone for our sins, and I'm sure we have plenty.
All right, our next topic. Jimmy Kimmel is coming back. But wait, not everywhere. Sinclair and Nexstar Media Group, which own together about 1 in 5 ABC affiliates nationwide, both say they will continue preempting Kimmel's show. So ABC, Disney says he's back, but there are companies that own the affiliates. So like in your local area, it's usually like WJLA or WKTV, right? They're owned by these groups called Sinclair and Nexstar. They're still saying they're not going to air it. So I believe in the DC market, it will not be on tonight. In certain areas, it will be on tonight. It'll be online, I'm sure, as soon as...
Catch it on YouTube, right?
Yeah, it'll be on YouTube. It'll be online, but...
That's not the same.
Not the same, but it seems like the backlash worked to a certain extent. It got Disney and ABC at least to reinstate him.
That's very important because remember, one of the things we've been talking about in this show is in response to our audience asking, what can we do? Right? We're in despair. Well, this is an example of what you can do. Get out in the streets, protest, make your voices known, pressure your elected officials, write letters to the editor, write op-eds. The backlash can work. I think that's the most important lesson of this whole Jimmy Kimmel experience.
I think the most effective thing that people did was starting to cancel their Disney Plus memberships.
Yes.
I've heard a lot of rumors online. I don't think there's any official information, but it seems like there was a lot of people who canceled their Disney Plus memberships, and that freaked Disney out.
Hit them in the pocketbook. That's always, if you can. This is a pretty unique situation where you can hit them in the pocketbook, but always look for that. Remember, follow the money. Always follow the money. And some of these affiliates have huge conflicts of interest, right?
Of course.
Like Nexstar.
Yeah.
Can you explain that?
They're in the midst of a merger where they need FCC approval.
Multi-billion-dollar.
Right. And a merger that will give them, I don't know if it's a law or what it is exactly, but
it might be a regulatory
rule that no one company can control over 30% of households. This Nexstar merger would make them in control of more than 30%. Yeah, so they really, not only do they need FCC approval, they need the FCC to waive this regulation, law, whatever it might be.
Talk about follow the money.
Yeah.
Follow the billions of dollars.
Yeah.
That are at stake here.
And, there's a lot of really worrying information right now in the media field. Also, Paramount may try to now buy Warner Brothers, and Paramount was just bought by Skydance, which is the Larry Ellison, David Ellison empire. We're seeing this massive conglomeration of media. If Skydance can buy Paramount, then buy Warner Brothers, we're seeing a total oligarchy in terms of control of our media. It's frightening.
That's really frightening. But luckily, we do have alternative media like this show.
That is true, yeah.
Luckily.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of really good creators now that exist online, and yeah, you can say goodbye to the, because if this Warner Brother merger happens, it's going to be devastating for sort of traditional media. It's going to consolidate power in essentially two men for a huge, I mean, we're talking about TNT, CNN, CBS. I mean, we're talking about Paramount, Warner Brothers. I mean, Turner. Yeah. I mean, we're talking about massive swath of our media. Yeah.
Of our public media. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's frightening.
Yeah. You have anything to add about Kimmel? That's it.
Again, would stress what he said, on a scale of 1 to 10, might have been a 3 or a 4, whereas lots of right-wingers have rung up the scale, 8, 9, even 10. Brian Kilmeade talking about killing off homeless people. Right-wingers saying Democrats have blood on their hands, they're responsible for this murder. Jesse Waters declaring war, and lots of other right-wingers declaring war. Not a ripple about that. And yet, what Jimmy Kimmel said probably was inadvisable, not true, but nowhere close to the overwhelmingly inflammatory commentary coming from the right.
Another thing, the Ellisons are also reportedly possibly part of this TikTok purchase. So they could potentially own...
Oh, my God.
Paramount, Warner Brothers, and a slice of new media in the form of TikTok, which would just be... I mean, at what point? I thought we had monopoly laws.
We do.
What happened?
Yeah, they have to be enforced. One of the groups that enforces our anti-monopoly laws is the Federal Trade Commission. And what has Trump done to the Federal Trade Commission? Fired them and appointed his loyalists. And there is now a court case on this coming up to the Supreme Court because he's not supposed to be able to do this without cause. And this Supreme Court case is flying under the radar, and it's of supreme importance because if Trump wins, that essentially gives him a free hand to control virtually all of our independent regulatory agencies. And how independent will they be after that, Sam?
Not.
Zero. They will all be following Trump's bidding. We're already seeing this with the Justice Department and Pam Bondi. Justice Department is, I can't stress this too much because it's gotten so muddled under Trump. The Attorney General. Is the Attorney General Trump's lawyer, Sam?
No, she's mine, actually.
He's yours.
Yeah.
The lawyer for the United States and the Constitution. Trump has his own White House lawyer, and there's supposed to be a clear line of demarcation between the White House and the Department of Justice, and Trump has obliterated that critical line.
Not good. All right, we've got 2 more topics. You ready, Dad?
Yeah, we better do it quickly.
We actually technically have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But I think we only have time for 2 more. There's
7 topics?
Well, these are the topics you said you want to talk about. You've sent me over the week.
Let's do the Pete Hegseth thing, because that's really very much in line with the Jimmy Kimmel issue.
Okay, let me get to that. You ready?
I'm ready.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth now requires reporters at the Pentagon to sign a loyalty-style pledge, drawing backlash from journalists and press freedom groups.
Well, are reporters and journalists loyal to the Department of Defense? Are those the persons they're supposed to be serving, Sam, or the organization that they're supposed to be serving?
Oh, this is for reporters? I didn't even realize that.
Yes, this is for reporters.
So weird. Oh.
They must sign a pledge.
I guess I just
sign it,
that, yeah.
maybe in blood, not to gather any information, including unclassified reports, that hasn't been authorized for release. And they risk losing their press privileges if they don't do it. In other words, what he has done is made, assuming this holds, made journalists and reporters into puppets, to his own puppets only able to report to the American people the information that he spoon-feds to them. They're not allowed to do any independent investigations of their own. If this had been in effect months ago, would we have ever heard about the Signal chat where Hegseth released attack plans on an unsecure line with a reporter included? We would ever have gotten that?
So he wants these reporters to be part of his PR team, not to be actual reporters.
I mean, this is Russian state media at the Pentagon. There's no way to sugarcoat this. This is exactly what authoritarians do. Turn the media into state-controlled media. Might as well not have reporters. Just have the defense secretary put out press releases. And what do you need reporters for, since, according to Hegseth, their role is just to transmit official things that he tells them. This is, one of the worst infringements on the freedom of press that's also flying under the radar with all that else is going. One of the worst infringements on First Amendment freedoms that we've ever seen in this country, probably since the Alien and Sedition Acts.
Let's move on to Trump's UN address. Trump addressed the UN on Tuesday. His speech may be the most bonkers of his career, rambling from Nobel Prizes to Gaza, Ukraine, and climate denial, and a bunch about immigration and migration.
Yes. We don't have time to go through all of it. And it was, you got to read it or listen to it. It is absolutely bonkers, off the wall, crazy, but dangerous. He's the president of the United States. He's not Jimmy Kimmel. He's not some comedian.
Right.
What he says matters.
How do I get Trump off my airwaves? I'd much rather him off my airwaves than Jimmy Kimmel.
Oh, he says vastly worse things than Jimmy Kimmel. Not even close. Couple of really bonkers things he said. Remember Trump's pledge about stopping the Ukraine war?
Day one.
Day one. We're now, I don't know, day 200, something like that. And now what he's saying is, this war is going to now go on for a long time. Well, maybe that's because you didn't follow through on your own commitments to try to stop the war. You've forgotten that in this bonkers address. Number one, you said when you met with Putin, if there isn't a ceasefire, right, and an agreement to meet, there would be dire consequences for Russia. What consequences were there, Sam?
I haven't seen any.
0. Then he said, I'll give you 2 weeks. And if you don't do something in 2 weeks, there'll be dire consequences. We've now blown a month past 2 weeks, and what's happened?
Nada.
Nothing. A lot of hot air and no action whatsoever from Trump. What do they call it in Texas? Big hat and no cattle.
Yeehaw.
Yeah, that's Trump. Prolonging the war because of his own feckless appeasement in Vladimir Putin, and now saying, I kind of wash my hands of it. It's going to go on forever. And he said, totally erroneously, Biden gave them $350 billion. It was more like $135. But what's $200 billion between friends, Right. And he said he got nothing out of it. What he got out of it was he stopped Putin cold from conquering Ukraine and then going after other American allies. It was Biden and Biden alone who put together the coalition of the West and the aid to Ukraine that was essential for Ukraine stopping Russia. What has Trump done in 7 months? Just appeased and encouraged Putin's aggression. Ever since that meeting in Alaska, which Trump says, I'm going to Russia, things have gotten much worse in terms of Putin's aggression and many would say war crimes against Ukraine. And of course, why are European countries in trouble? Well, I'm sure they are. Climate change. They're actually doing what he's not doing, taking action on climate change, as if somehow that was be detrimental to the economy and the well-being of the American people. I'll quote something from 16 years ago a businessman's letter to then President Obama, which said, if we don't take action against climate change, the results will be catastrophic, and we can do it and actually improve our economy. Who signed that letter, Sam?
Donald Duck.
Donald Duck and his whole family.
I said Donald Duck.
Oh,
you said Donald Duck too. That was a gotcha on that one.
yeah, you got me. I thought that was just your nickname for Donald Trump. That's why.
I didn't. Yeah, they do share the first name.
I've heard you use that before. And of course, he went on his usual rant against immigrants. Remember, he said they're poisoning the blood of their country. They're stone cold killers. None of which has even a shred of truth, and is very dangerous because it creates this hatred, this polarization, this, gets people to despise immigrants. Remember, he said they're eating your pets, they're stealing your cats and dogs. It's just, if I wrote this as a novel and gave it to my agent, you know what she would have said?
This is absurd.
This is so absurd that I can't even publish this as fiction. There's got to at least be some modicum of truth here. And this just touches the highlights of the bonkers address. It got exactly 2 sessions of applause. Usually these addresses get applause all the time. One in the middle and one when he finally finished. I guess they were so glad.
That's funny. All right, you ready to get to some questions? Oh, there's a Georgia Senate seat.
This we can dispose of real fast.
Tonight, right?
Yeah, maybe even results.
Oh, should I look?
This is a Georgia state Senate seats in a deep red district, won easily by Trump, where the Democrat may have a shot, be a long shot. But we've seen that elsewhere. For example, recently in Iowa, we saw a Democrat win by a near landslide in a deep red state legislative district. It's been one defeat after another, even in red districts in the off-year elections. I'm not saying they're predictive, but there is some encouragement there.
Oh, the Republican already won.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. It was a very heavily Republican district.
I mean, he crushed. It's still...
He should win in a huge landslide.
Well, it's...
like 60-40, 65-35.
I don't know. This is a little confusing. It says that there's 0% reporting, but then it says there's 21,000 votes in, which that should be the whole thing, right?
I'm not sure.
I don't know. It's a little confusing. It says that there's 0% reporting, but there's also 21,000 votes in.
It's no surprise if the Republican wins. This is a very deep red district.
Well, yeah, I don't know why they're reporting that there's 0% reporting. Obviously not. But according to them, he won 13,000 votes, 60.9% of the vote. She won 39% of the vote. Deborah.
That's a decent showing.
Shegley.
I think Trump won by more, but not a great showing. It's predictable. Can you grab my drink?
I'll try.
Are we getting to questions now?
Yeah.
Good stretch.
Thanks. All right.
Before we get that, we have an announcement.
Yes. Some quick housekeeping stuff. There's 1,000 people watching, but only 400 likes. Please like the stream. It helps a lot. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. No show Thursday, but just keep an eye on our channel. Remember that donations and memberships get priority on questions. How's that soda?
Really good. Root beer.
Diet, of course.
Of course.
All right. I saw a couple big donations come in. Let me just check that real quick.
We need those donations. A lot of work goes into this.
George Politis. He's really been sending some big donos in with a $80 donation. Just says, hello, Professor Lichtman and Sam. Appreciate that. $50 donation from Joanne. Just saying, thanks, guys. Trump and RFK Jr. are dangerous. I can't wait for your book.
I got to sign that book.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Thank you. Those big donations, Joanne and George. Almost similar names. Joe and Joe.
What's that?
Nothing. Okay. Let's get to our questions. Our first question is from...
You got an announcement.
I said it.
You did? That there's no show?
I said it. No show on Thursday.
Oh, I wasn't paying attention.
Come on, man. I said it. Kathy Jacobson says, Lashana Tova, Dr. Lichtman
Thank you.
and family. What is your hope for the new year?
Oh, God. That we are able to fight back in our country on behalf of democracy, freedom for all of us, and truth. And I emphasize truth. I've said this so many times. When you lose truth, everything else dissolves.
Oh,
But thank you.
G with a $50 donation.
Thank you for
so
the New
much,
Year
G.
greeting.
Alex Kawa says, do you have any thoughts on the United Nations report that Israel is committing a genocide in Gaza?
Look, I haven't studied that issue myself. I'm always reluctant to use the word genocide. But I absolutely believe, without labeling it genocide, that Israel has committed unspeakable, unnecessary, ungodly atrocities in Gaza. And that Prime Minister Netanyahu is the worst nightmare for Jews all over the world, that he has turned Israel, once a moral beacon for the world, into a pariah nation that certainly is committing horrific crimes, even if you might not want to label it genocide. But I can certainly see why some people would.
What's your perspective? I know the Trump administration is saying that recognizing Palestine is a gift to Hamas. What do you think about that?
You mean recognizing the two states? That's what they've been recognizing. No, not at all.
No. I'm saying there are certain countries around the world who are now recognizing Palestine as a nation.
I thought they were recognizing the two state. There is no Palestinian nation, as I just. But they want to recognize Palestine
As a nation.
As a nation.
That's what I'm
It's
saying.
a very difficult issue. On one hand, they certainly deserve recognition. On the other hand, they are dominated by this terrorist organization, Hamas. And I think everything that Netanyahu is doing has just strengthened the hold of Hamas and extremism in the Arab world. I believe one of the countries that was a signatory to the Abraham Accords is now contemplating withdrawing from them.
This is from In Your Face New Yorker. They say, I work a job that gets federal funding. In light of the Jimmy Kimmel debacle, should I stop posting about Trump on social media? It's on friends only, but should I be concerned about Facebook reporting people's posts to the government and then the government blackmailing the company?
Absolutely. No one is safe. You should be worried. Now, I can't advise you whether you should shut down or not. I don't know enough about your situation, and that's really a decision you have to make, weighing the risks and the positive side of what you're doing. But let's face it, there is reason to worry. That does not necessarily mean you should shut down. That's a much more difficult decision.
I mean, look, your top priority is your job, your well-being. You don't want to tell people not to express themselves. It's a tough call, but
what we can say is there is a risk, no doubt.
I would say they are probably right now focused on bigger fish,
but
Harvard University, ABC,
right.
et cetera, et cetera. But
you never know.
You never know. They certainly they don't seem to be afraid to go after people.
No, they're not afraid.
Yeah.
They think they're above it all. They can do it. Trump said it. You don't take my word for it. He said, I can do anything I want as president. He said, I'm not bound by the law because I'm saving the country.
Right.
Compared himself to a king. Yes, they believe they can do anything they want. And by the way, that's not a delusion. So far, they've gotten away with doing anything they want.
Professor and Sam, what effect do you believe Kamala's book, 107 Days, will have on the Democratic presidential candidacy?
I haven't read it, so I can't really answer. But typically, such books are, pretty much self-serving, no matter who writes them. I'm not singling out Kamala, and have little impact upon elections. By the time we get to the 2028 election, I think this book will long be forgotten. But they rarely help, let's put it that way.
I thought it was a little petty. I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought that her writing this book, especially now,
Yeah, I didn't like the idea.
The country's going through so much. It kind of feels like, a little bit petty.
I agree. But I don't want to criticize a book I haven't read.
True.
But I've not been impressed with her performances about the book. Let me say that. They seem a little too self-serving.
Yeah. This is a $2 donation from Super Mike. They say, how much do you think AI will impact our politics?
Well, you can answer that, Sam.
I don't know. I was really hot on AI for a while. I've sort of cooled off a little bit. I think AI has existed for a long time. The difference now is it's more accessible to the masses, and it's being marketed very well.
And it's more powerful.
So I don't know. I have some debate. During this whole big AI push that we're in, you heard it's gonna. You can't even understand how quickly it's gonna progress. It's gonna progress exponentially. I don't know if I've actually seen that come to fruition. I think the world is starting to cool a little bit on AI, and in terms of our politics, I mean, that's more of a question for you.
Oh, I think it will have an impact on politics in terms of shaping issue responses, speech writing, targets for fundraising, opposition research. But, we've always had all of those things, and lots of new technologies have expanded the capacity, but haven't fundamentally changed the dynamics of our politics.
Is Trump so far gone that he really believes his own lies, or is he so entrenched in the Roy Cohn playbook that he just can't help himself?
I think it's a little bit of both. But you have to understand with Trump, there's no such thing as what he believes or doesn't believe. He doesn't believe anything except what's good for Trump. In other words, he's totally transactional. That is, he'll say whatever he thinks will benefit him. And there's no issue with Trump, whether it's true or false, or even an attempt to consider whether it's true or false. That's why he can say what seem to be the most outrageous things. Things that not only defy all of science, but defy, our basic common sense, like swallowing bleach. Come on. You don't need to be a scientist to know how absurd that was.
For real, for real. Even though Trump is taking political action hastily and irresponsibly, is there anything future leaders can learn from his administration to remedy the issue of often dilatory and indecisive nature of traditional politics?
Yeah. Don't play to lose. Don't play not to lose. Trump never plays not to lose, does he?
True. No.
He always plays to win, whether it was in business.
Unlike the New York Giants.
What's that?
I said unlike the New York Giants.
Yeah, right. Oh my God! Don't even get me started. And you've heard us criticize the Democrats time and again for playing not to lose rather than playing to win. They don't seem to have learned a darn thing. Although I am seeing some glimmers of improvement, so maybe they are at least beginning to take to heart what has been, right out front, not even a secret. An element of Trump's success is always play to win, never play not to lose.
Today, many young people facing bleak prospects risk retreating into a hyper-individualistic culture mindset. That's
wow.
Smart, Tashdid. That's from Tashdid Khan. From your perspective, how do we keep economic hardship from hardening this generation into cynicism or even fascism?
That's a huge problem. The flowering of fascism, when did that occur? Under what conditions, Sam?
Economic hardship.
In the 1930s.
Yeah.
Fascism in Italy, Germany, Japan, other European nations flourished in times of economic hardship. It's not a perfect correlation. Good times do not necessarily guarantee that you're not going to get a descent into authoritarianism. But you're absolutely right. Hard times are associated with the solution, for the leader. Only I can solve it, says Donald Trump. So there is a certain appeal in hard times. That's why it's so important to have not just democratic norms and practices, but also a prosperous and thriving economy. Franklin Roosevelt understood that very well in the efforts that he took to get us out of the Great Depression and reform the economy. So we haven't had another depression since the 1930s.
I've heard, well, what about the 2008 financial crisis?
It was deep but short run. Remember, the depression was a decade long. It's not a depression if it's deep, but, a year or so.
Gotcha. This is from 2009 KY Gal. They say, I've heard the Trump government is authoritarian but not fascist. What's the difference? What are the nuances in the various kinds of authoritarianism?
Yeah, fascism is the ultimate extension, or one of them, of authoritarianism, where you not only have, a ruling party, controls on the press, but you have the violent suppression. Not just getting Jimmy Kimmel off the air, but throwing him in a concentration camp of fascism. The fascist governments also control the economy in a way that authoritarian governments do not necessarily. So fascism is a type of more extreme authoritarianism. Remember what the Nazis called themselves, National Socialists. Like the socialists, they wanted to control, and did, the means of production, except not in the interests of workers, but in the interests of the Nazi state.
I heard somewhere that they called themselves socialists because they Hitler took over the Socialist Party and they just didn't want to rebrand themselves or something like that. Is that true?
There is some element to that. I'm not enough of an expert to know how true that is, but certainly the National Socialist label fits what they were doing.
I mean, you can be a left-wing authoritarian, you can be a right-wing authoritarian, right? There's not necessarily one political ideology that owns authoritarianism, right?
Authoritarianism is not a function of political ideology. It's a function of control. And whether your justification is from the left, as in the Soviet Union, or from the right, as in Nazi Germany, or today in Hungary and Russia, the hallmark is control and suppression of truth, suppression of freedom and liberties of the people, and militarization.
Thank you, Blazers, for your gifted memberships. Appreciate that. So are all right-wing authoritarians fascists or not necessarily?
Not necessarily, although, these terms do not have exact scientific definitions. Different scholars have different understandings of what constitutes fascism. But let's say fascism is an extreme variant of authoritarianism that takes authoritarianism to an extreme through control over the economy, the suppression of people's freedom and liberty, the militarization of society, the persecution, even the murder of scapegoats.
A lot of people are saying that I'm right and you're wrong about the Nazis. They said that the Nazis actually murdered socialists.
Nazis actually what?
Murdered socialists, and they were anti-socialists. They branded themselves as socialists in name only.
That's absolutely right. I'm not arguing with that.
Okay.
But I am saying, in a sense, the National Socialist label is descriptive, because that's what they were doing, taking over the means of production, which socialists do, except socialists do it in order to pass power on to the workers. The Nazis did it to control the economy.
Can you be a left-wing authoritarian fascist?
Probably not.
Probably not. Okay.
But again, these are just labels.
Right.
There is commonalities to dictatorships, whether you call them left or right. As I said, I mentioned, 4 commonalities that they all have.
Gotcha.
How much time do we have left?
We just hit an hour.
All right, let me take one more.
Do you want a question about Christianity and Charlie Kirk? Do you want
Not really.
a statement about the hypocritical?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have been asking for a stronger word.
This is from my friend Cynthia Gutierrez. They say,
Yes.
Dr. Lichtman mentioned coming up with a word stronger than hypocritical. My word isn't a real word, but I came up with it. Hypocristical. Charading as Christians while supporting ideas and policies that are antithetical to Jesus' teachings.
Couldn't agree more with the approach. I think does indeed define a lot of conservatism. And I talk about that a lot, Sam, in my book, Conservative at the Core, A New History of American Conservatism, which you can now get on Amazon, any other bookseller website, University of Notre Dame Press website. The problem with our members' alternative is it's too difficult. You could barely even pronounce it. It's not going to be a very good slogan to use.
Hypocristical.
Yeah, no one's going to know what that means. But it's a great idea. But we need a smaller, punchier word.
It sounds like a stone that you hypnotize somebody with. Like, grab your hypocristical. Let's hypnotize that person.
All right.
One final off-topic comment from James Lagruda, who was at the Giants game. They say, horrible to witness Sunday night. What are your thoughts on Giants starting Jackson Dart this soon?
I have 3 responses to that.
Our one sports question of the night.
You ready?
Yeah.
3 answers. Yes, yes, and yes.
Gotcha. All right. With that, we will wrap up Lichtman Live this evening. Remember, no Thursday show, but keep an eye on the channel. Dad, what are your final words to the people?
It's becoming more and more dangerous. It's not just bonkers, crazy lies that fly into the ether. It's now lies that affect our health and our well-being, and that's frightening. And we need to take a stand against it. We need as much of a backlash as we had against the firing of Jimmy Kimmel.
Okay, thank you all for watching. We appreciate it. Have a good night.
All right.
Come on.